Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology with Janet Hickox. Grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back, and let's chat about what is going on up in the sky above us today, July 14th, and haven't quite got the knack yet to making sure that that video, when it pops up, is muted. Every day it changes, right? That's the excitement of life and living. And I just had an awesome conversation with my youngest son. It's always fun to chat with him. He meets me on a very intellectual level, and we have some interesting chats about politics and all kinds of stuff. And it's always funny because he's seemingly on a different vibe than I am, and yet I absolutely adore him and we still get along. So, hey, why can't we do that in the world, right? We could do that. If we can do that in our families, we can do that in the world. And that is a part of our lessons here now. And I think something that we need to be willing to explore in our lives. So let me just say a quick good morning to everybody who's popping in. Amy, good morning, and Camilla and Mimi, great to see you ladies. And I'm sure there are more of you out there listening. I guess I don't need to hold my coffee in my hand. I'll end up dropping it, spilling it, or wearing it. So how is everybody this morning? Hopefully you're feeling energized. I noticed a difference in the day today from the day yesterday. And with that moon in Taurus, it seems, kinds of calms us down a little bit, makes us a little more in the body, maybe a little more grounded. And today that might be a little bit of a change because today the moon in Taurus comes together with the planet Uranus in Taurus. And that means our emotions are meeting this planet of awakening and liberation and surprises and shocks. So everything is a little bit up in the air today. It is a day for adventure. That seems to be a theme that keeps popping up throughout everything I was writing this morning. And yet with adventure comes some caution. And we are looking at a Pleiadian-Earth day 10, which often gives us that seeing in our outer world the manifestation of where our thoughts and intentions have been. So you get a read sort of on a day like this about where you are in the spectrum of creating what you desire, because you're starting to see it pop up in your world. If you don't like what it is that you're seeing out there, then you have this opportunity to course correct and to become more aligned with your heart center or with your compass, if you will. And so that gives us sort of this idea of the day. Today, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into human design. By design, I'm doing this because I feel like it holds the key, the answers to solving some of our problems here on the planet. As each one of you come to know who you really are and what you are here to do and living out your life purpose and your destiny, it allows the people around you to also be living out theirs. So it's really important, I think, not just astrology, although I'll continue to talk about that, but I think it's really important for us to really understand our personal authority. And you'll see, as you know, now we have Mars moving into the gate 21 today, how easy it is for us to be controlled um, by the controllers if we don't maintain our own authority. And I think that is part of the expression we see in the world right now. Right now, it shows up in arguments or division or polarization. But I think what it is underneath it all is our exerting our authority, and we're still immature in that way. So we'll talk more about what that is today as well. So, okay, let's see what comments are popping in here. Joshua, good morning. Definitely a shift to more energy. It does feel like that today. Good morning, Amanda. Good morning, Debbie Tibbetts-Tumiel. Kimberly, good morning. Jennifer Peachy, good morning to you as well. And Patricia Woods, there you are, my friend. Great to see you out there this morning. We played Where's Waldo over the weekend as she somehow Living Astrology wasn't popping up for her. So I was like hidden from her. Hopefully now you're finding me with ease. That would be good. Destiny Clark, good morning. And Leah, that you're new. Good morning to you and welcome to Living Astrology. It's great to have your energy with ours. And Amy Energy says, I agree, Janet. Human design is changing my life and the only thing that makes sense or gives me hope with the world right now. So glad my interest in astrology led me to you. Well, I'm so thankful that you too found me and that we're adding your energy to our community that's building here, as we're learning to live our life um, purposefully and in love with an open heart. So, and it is a learning process, right? Even I fall out of the curve and land on my face from time to time. And then I pick myself back up and I go, okay, well, yeah, you're still human and you're still learning. So let's see, what did you learn from this experience? And then I can always go back to my human design. And a funny thing, because I have been doing some deep research over in moments between clients and projects. I've been doing some research on human design because I'm really fascinated by this upcoming evolutionary leap, if you will, this evolution to the nine-centered solar plexus driven template that's coming up in 2027. And in fact, you guys might circle your calendar for this. On the 29th of July, I will be on Angel Heart Radio with Anea, and we will be talking exactly about that. So it's a fascinating subject. She got me going because she wanted to know more. And I went, I want to know more. So I've been looking into the evolution of human design because a lot of that evolution was happening before we were consciously aware of human design. Yet, somehow some creative force, i.e. source or God, had this finger, if you will, pushing us toward an evolution. And now, of course, even in the Mayan calendar, we can see that those puppet strings that were pushing us toward a specific evolution have been cut. And it's now our choice as we become fully co-creative in the process of evolving on the planet. And the solar plexus evolution that's occurring, or the mutation that's occurring within us, is also driven by us. And that floored me. So we'll be talking more about that and looking at the past and how the design has changed through the years. And where is it going? Where does it take us when we get to 27? Does it just suddenly magically appear that we have this new technique or this new ability, or what? Right? I'm really curious about that. So we'll talk more about that day. I don't want to spill all the beans, and I'm still doing the research behind the scenes on that, but I find it fascinating, don't you, that we're sitting here in this life 7 years from now with the potential of this major mutation that has the potential to shift the world out of this divisive polarization into unity and oneness. It's incredible. And I wish it could happen overnight. I think it can if we start practicing now what it is that we need to do in order to get there. So again, we will keep focusing on human design and learning more and more about that. So let's just dive in with that, because today, in our human design, in fact, I think I'll show the chart of the day before, so you can see how it changes from day to day, which I already know you guys know it does that. But let me open that up and then share my screen for you. You'll see it looks like it did last week. As remember, yesterday we had 3 centers down here defined, and now they're gone, right? Because the Earth and the Sun have moved into different gates up here on the Ajna and in the head center. 61 and 62. So 62, on the throat center and the head center. And so we're putting a lot of focus there back into the head centers. And that means that we are very much in our heads at the moment. Even those of us who are usually open-minded or have open heads and open ajnas are suddenly defined through this gate or this channel of awe and wonder and trying to rationalize what's going on. And it just puts a lot of focus for us on trying to figure out what's happening to us and in the world. And literally, the more we focus in that part of our energy, the more crazy we get, the more insane we get, because this is in the shadow, the gate of psychosis. And in the shadow here is addicted to thinking certain things and expecting certain outcomes, etc. So we're trying to break that by really focusing on what is going on up here. So if you can really take a look at what your mind is focusing on, then you'll get the connection to why it is certain things are coming up in your outer world, right? Because you're driving the creation of them in part by your thought process, but also because of the solar plexus mutation that is in the works here. And we don't yet understand completely the connection between the solar plexus creative power and the mind's creative power. We think we know, right? We have a lot of nerve endings and so forth on the anatomical from an anatomical point of view here in this emotional center, in the gut, if you will. But we don't really understand how much creative power there is here. And of course, we also know the heart thinks, right? The heart thinks. It has its own brain sort of energy, and then we have this mind. So we have awareness, we have heart-centeredness, and we have emotions that drive what it is we're creating. So it's just, when you start to break it down that way, it's really amazing. And then if you take a look at what these individual planets bring to the table, you get a better picture of what it is that we're trying to achieve. So to that end, today we have the planet Venus and the planet Mars both entering into new gates. Now, Venus, of course, is gaining up speed because she has been in retrograde, right? So she's now trying to gain speed. She is still sitting, where is she sitting today? She should be sitting at about, mid 11 degrees of Gemini. And she doesn't leave Gemini until August, I believe it is. And that's when we'll have her moving into Cancer. And at the same time that she's sort of speeding up, Mars is slowing down because he's moving more toward his retrograde phase. So these next couple of weeks, up until September 9th, when he turns retrograde, things are slowing down with Mars. And what you may see in the night sky is that he's becoming clearer and clearer, as if he looks like he's coming closer to the Earth. Retrograde planets are often at their closest point to the Earth. And because he's one of the visual planets, we might be able to see him. I should get my star app out and take a picture of where you could look in the night sky. And by the way, we should be looking at the early morning sky right now to see the comet Neowise. That is very visible, apparently. I haven't gotten my butt out of bed that early to go see, but, and besides that, it's so hard here because she's low on the horizon and everything here is about trees and mountains, especially to the east, where the sun is rising. So it might be hard for me to see it anyway. So anyway, that's an off the topic question. So let's go to Venus in human design. Now she's shifted now to the gate 35. And the gate 35 sits here on the throat center and moves down toward the emotional center. So for those of you who maybe have a gate 36 in your human design that's hanging, right? It's like this, only hanging from here and not from here. You have now a completed channel of transitoriness, right? This is a channel of change and mutation, of trying new things, of being adventurous, right? We have that whole thing of adventure. But if we look at Venus through the gene keys, this particular gate here is in its highest expression, boundlessness. Don't you just love the sound of that word, the way it feels? Boundlessness, no boundaries, right? Not having anything to stop you from going where you want to go. The gift level is adventure. So again, we hear this word adventure. You're going to hear it with the moon again today too. And in the lowest expression, it is hunger. And it's not like my belly's hungry because I didn't eat breakfast kind of thing. It is that hunger in your soul for achieving something or doing something or becoming something or sharing something. So we have Venus then tempting us to go out into the world and find our way. Now in human design, so we know pretty much what the planets mean. So in astrology, Venus represents your values, your money, your relationships, and she rules two signs, Taurus and Libra. And she rules beauty and harmony and art and creativity in how we express beauty out in the world, right? Well, in human design, we look at what Venus represents in a little bit different way. She also has a representation of what's going on in the collective, as well as what's going on for you personally. So if we look at the gate right now that she's sitting at, we can see that, collectively there's a need for adventure and for unbinding ourselves from something, as well as looking at what the hunger is in all of us. What is the hunger that's driving these energies that are sitting on the planet right now? So, Venus in human design on the collective level establishes our values, our morals, and represents how we deal with each other in the world. I'm going to stop sharing this for a moment. Didn't want to stop sharing. Now, on a personal level, then she represents your personal ideas of right and wrong, and your own issues, moral issues, or ethical issues that you're grappling with in your own life, and your values, and how is it that those values play out in your personal relationships, because that's typically where we see Venus, right? And a lot of that has to do, if we look at Venus in the gene keys, even we see that same energy, right? Values and morals and an ethical center, a moral compass, if you will. But we also see that in the gene keys, it represents the conditioning that you were born into. There are several gates in the Venus sequence, it's called, that unpack for you where it is that your concept of morals and rightness and wrongness come from, and how that's passed on from generation to generation in a family. So if we looked then at what Venus represents for the gate 35 as we go forth in this week, Venus is asking us to live with an open heart and to look at life as an adventure, right? To be open-hearted through this adventure, not to close down your heart, but to open it up, to stay open-hearted. And even though we have, values that we are living by, that we state, are we living by them? Right? Again, we get this idea. Are we walking our talk? Are we in integrity? Right? That word, integrity. Are we walking our talk? Are we in our own authority? Are we, or are we living one thing and saying another? Right? That's the key here. And then when you're out of integrity, right? So there's this interesting progression, I think, that happens in human design, that you see where Venus is ruling our values, the idea of right and wrong and how we live that. Then those right and wrongs become laws with Jupiter in our chart. And when we are not living in integrity by those universal laws, those become karma that we experience with Saturn in our charts. So we have this progression of the way these planets play out or play together in your human design template. So if we were to go back to this chart, and we're going to pretend this chart is a person. Oops, I can't share if I don't show the screen. There we go. Now you should see the human design chart again. Let's say this is a person. Well, this person's ideas of morals, or their ideas of right and wrong, are coming through this gate of adventure, this gate of experiencing with an open heart the many things that are available on this planet. So their compass would be about not shutting down, but opening up, right? So you can feel when you pull your shoulders back, how your heart jumps forward, and you are more open to life. So this person's moral code, I guess you could say, is inviting adventure and living with the heart open. And it feels very Sagittarius to me in this way, but it's definitely not. Well, it has a Sagittarian feel, that idea of being open to the adventure. And if we look then at this person's Jupiter, the rewards they would receive, and this is the collective also right now, because we're looking at a collective chart. I'm just pretending it's a person. The rewards received through following that moral compass engage the awe and the wonder and the magic of living in this world and watching as things unfold and as you discover new things. On the other hand, the ignoring of that adventure and the closing down of one's heart will bring psychosis, right? That's the gate 61, psychosis. That's the shadow energy. And then the repercussions, if you will, the Saturn um, of it all in the gate 60, which is down here on the root center, moving up to the gate 3, is about restriction. It's about limitation. So if you're not living in acceptance of that pulse of evolution or that spiral of consciousness moving us to adventure into new territory, to live open-heartedly, then we find ourselves in limitation, more restriction, more upset, more a shrinking down of our world. So isn't that amazing how you could read that just like that? Now, if you have your own personal chart, you could look at that same thing. Look at your Venus. What are you learning about? And what is your moral code here? What is your where is your compass that initiates right and wrong? And how is that rewarded if you're living to your internal compass? And then what are the ramifications if you don't? Right? Interesting, right? Okay, I want to see people's comments about this before we move over to Mars. And Leah, she's just saying hello to everybody. Amy says, wow, so exciting. Valerie says, hello, happy Tuesday. And J-Lo, good morning. Loving Light, another new person. Great to see you out there. Welcome to Living Astrology. I love to see you here. It sounds like you might listen to me in other areas. Allison, what if 3 and 60 are now connected? Well, that great question, Allison, because like in my own chart, they are connected. So that would make for a mutation that is happening in the very fabric of your DNA, because that particular channel really holds the key, the 360, to mutation, to transformation, or maybe it's better put as transfiguration, where we are actually shape-shifting into new creatures, new beings, if we allow the energy to morph us and to go along with the highest expression of all of our energies as much as we can, because we are still learning, then we find ourselves shape-shifting into something more of the light, right? That's the DNA being transduced with more light. So the 360 would bring more of that to you. The more that we are consciously then creating those pathways, the more our DNA can reflect that light outward from us. And that's the thing that we have to remember, is that the very fabric, the very, the very fabric of who you are in your DNA is about gaining more light, bringing more light in. And as we bring more light in, we become more heart-centered, we become more open-hearted, we become more open-minded, and we become less judgmental and critical of one another and of ourselves. And we begin to move through our life with more ease, with adventure and love. And that sounds very Pollyanna, I know, but that's, if we want to bring a golden age to this planet, we got to start somewhere. And, we're here, we're the vanguard of that change, that at some point, if we could live another 100 years into the future, or even another couple of 100 years into the future, we would look back and we'd say, wow, in 2020, the key things that we chose individually had such impact, right? It reverberates through time and changes the paradigm, changes the model by which we live, changes the whole uh, evolutionary track, if you will. And that's part of our responsibility right now. And this is, I'm going to transition now over to Mars in the human design chart, because Mars is also changing gates today. And Mars represents in human design, so in astrology, Mars represents the warrior energy, the energy of action and moving forward. There's protection with Mars. There's the warrior nature, the ability to be the masculine energy that goes out into the world and does what's needed to protect and defend and what have you. But that's when Mars is working in its maturity, right? Then we have the protection of people, or the protection of the planet, or the protection of the tribe, if you will. On the bigger level, Mars represents where we are immature in our expression of the energy. So in the immature expression of the energy, we're acting irresponsibly, right? So you can see that because our idea of Mars now our expression of Mars on the planet has been about taking resources, fighting over resources, creating wars over resources, or land or water, or you name it, or just infighting with, tribes who out of a feeling of lack or power or control issues, right? They're I don't have to explain this to you, I don't think. I mean, you can see the irresponsibility and the immaturity of Mars run amok on the planet right now. So without an awareness of what Mars is bringing us to with maturity, it becomes a force for mindlessness, for mindless outbursts. Without awareness of being a force for good, we have all kinds of troubles, divisions, and polarities, and he said, she said, and conspiracy theories, and you can go on because Mars is immature in this in humans at the moment. But if we bring awareness to our Mars and we bring wisdom, and we all do over the course of our age, right? So you think back to your teenage self, your child self, your teenage self, your young adult, your middle-aged adult, if you're in that middle age, or your elderly self, if you're in the older ages, right? You've gained wisdom and maturity and more responsibility as you've gotten older. So on a collective level, though, we are still so immature because we haven't been taught to take responsibility for our own self. But with awareness, then Mars in our chart becomes a force for good, for productivity, and for wisdom, right? Just as you as a person grow through the different levels of your life, gaining more wisdom and, being more mature, if you will, and responsible, the humankind has collectively is going through that same process. And I think I've told you guys before that I felt like we were sort of in the teenage years, like that, right, that cusp at 18 or 19 years old, where we are suddenly cut free from our parents and we go to college, or we go out into the world and we're free to do whatever we want, to come home as late as you want, to, spend your money the way you want to, hang out with whoever you want to. And at first, when that freedom is given, often it is a bit irresponsible, right? We stay out too late. We forget to do our homework if we're at, college, because mom's not there going, did you do your homework? And, we have to become more responsible. Well, that's where humanity is at this moment. We are having to come into a sort of level of responsibility that we've not been at ever, right? A new responsibility. So a new force for good, for productivity in a positive way, and for the growth of wisdom. And that engenders peace and tranquility and all of that as we move forward. On the personal level, you are also experiencing Mars. And on the personal level, it's that extraordinary energy that it's palpable in your body, right? You can feel that energy coursing through you that steers you toward a more mature expression of who you are in the world. And then we begin to use that very powerful energy in our own bodies, in our own lives, as a force for good and as a force for personal transformation. And that's happening all the time. It's not like, you personally transform one time, because we're always in that process. And if we look now to where Mars is in human design, let me pull that chart back up so you guys can see that, and share my screen again. Here we go. We see that Mars is now at the gate 21, which puts it on the ego center. And this is in its lowest expression, the power, or the energy of control. And in its gift, it's authority. And in its highest expression, it is valor. So that's an interesting word, I think, to put here. Valor and authority, I get. Valor, I get sort of. I'm not sure I see exactly how that plays out, but that's my own personal contemplation, to go to my Gene Keys book and start reading about that highest expression, valor. What does it take to bring valor into the world? And authority and control being the other two energies. So at gate 21, then, we have control issues as part of our maturing, as part of our becoming authorities in our own lives. So the realization for us with Mars now at gate 21 is of control's impact on society and in our personal lives. And we are trying to move control into authority. And what does that mean? Well, first of all, control is fear-based, right? It's me trying to control you, or the government trying to control us, or if in, corporations controlling the flow of money out of a fear-based energy. It's fear-based because I'm afraid, they're afraid that they're not going to have enough money, right? That money somehow is greed and it gives them more power and they can control more. So control in your own life even is, trace it back. It's all about fear, where authority, and I'm not talking authoritarian, I'm not talking like authoritarian governments or dictator type energy. I'm talking about true authority, which is you standing in your own light, in your own power, not needing to control anything or anyone in order to be your bright, shiny self. And that kind of authority inspires loyalty. So as we're looking at leaders and who we want to follow in the world, and why people would disparage a person in order to make themselves feel better, we see that it's all about control, because the fear is, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough, you won't follow me unless I disparage someone else, I'm not good enough unless I can take that control from other people. But it also speaks to the victim in all of us, in that, where are you being controlled? Where are you feeling like you're being controlled? Where are you not taking on your own personal authority? So for the next several days, actually, how long is Mars sitting here? All the way through the 24th of July. So today's the 14th, so another 10 days of learning about our own authority. And then if you look at Mars in your own particular chart, it's going to show you, so this person, if this were a person, right, the maturing process is about relinquishing control and moving toward authority, moving toward authorship, right? And recognizing the inherent power and energy within, to, instead of exerting control over your environment or the people in your environment or the spending of your resources, money or time or whatever it is, relinquish control and be in your own authority. That would be what this particular person's maturing process would take them to. All right. Hope that makes sense for everybody. I'm going to go back over here, see if people have questions. For those of you who listen to me later in the day through the podcast, where you're not exactly seeing the charts that I'm showing, I encourage you to go to my Living Astrology YouTube channel and subscribe. First of all, that's my shameless self promotion. And also click thumbs up if you like the video. But also, because a lot of what I do some mornings as I'm describing human design is visual, showing the chart. This way you get an opportunity to see that, as well as, so listen to the podcast, and then if it piques your interest, then go to the video. You can even fast forward through some of the talking so that you can get to the pictures, so you can connect with visually what it is that I'm talking about. Debbie Tippett's two meal. If you're not living your truth, you're living in or on the energy of a straight line. When you are living with your truth, when you are living in the natural spiral of energy, it's everywhere in nature. I love it. Loving light. Are you born on a Venus as night star or day star? I was born with Venus at her maximum elongation as the morning star. It just so happened that the exact day of my birth was the sort of the brightest and the furthest she would go in the sky as her morning star self. So definitely more of the morning star, which is why I'm more optimistic than pessimistic. And, I'm not saying that pessimism is wrong, but I always look at the bright side of everything if I can. Destiny says she's like agreeing with Debbie. Debbie says crone wisdom equals old bats. I couldn't resist. I love that. J-Lo says, I often wondered why we just did not stay trading things like before. Sheesh, now I see why. They say more money equals more problems. Indeed. And I think that that's part of our maturing process as well as human beings, right? Is that recognition. I mean, there's so many different gates. It's not just, Mars at gate 21. It is a money gate in your human design. The 21 is about how we spend money. How do we, are we good with money? Are we good with our resources, let's say, because it's not just money. If it were shells, if it were blankets or wampum, whatever it is that we would use as a trade, as a resource to purchase other things, it would be the same thing, right? How well do we manage that? And are we overspending and not spending enough or what have you, right? So 21, ideally in a chart of a person, can show where you have the better read on how to manage the flow of resources coming in and going out. But it can also be the source of control issues between you and another person. So often when I'm looking at charts of people who are coming together in relationship, either business partners or even marriage partners, I'm looking right away for that channel, because if one person has the gate 45 at the other end and one person has the 21, you're coming together with a spender and a manager, and they may have opposite goals, and it can be the source of control issues within popping up in a power struggles in a relationship. So we need to know if that's happening in a relationship, because if it is, your awareness itself helps you manage that, but also can give you the key to how to make your relationship work really well, right? So this is why we look at the whole picture, not just the one thing, but we have to learn about them individually. Amy, makes so much sense. Thank you very much, Amy. Susan Turnbull, oh my goodness, I miss you too. I'm so glad you found me and have been able to join me here this morning. That's awesome. Great to see you. I hope you're well, and I hope everything in your life is going smoothly. Joshua says, LOL, that's my husband and I. Indeed, right? We can look at a chart and see if that struggle is going on. And there are other channels as well that create struggle in relationships. For instance, I have this channel between me and my husband where he insists that I've had conversations with him that I've never had. And he'll say, you told me that, and I'm like, no. Only in your imagination did that happen. And it's true, that happens to be a connection that he and I have, where he has these invisible conversations with me. However, I wasn't part of the conversation, and he insists that I was. So now I can laugh about it because I understand our human design. But earlier in our relationship, it was often a source of irritation on my part. I would be so irritated with him. And he would get irritated with me because he's like, you did too have that conversation with me. No, I didn't. So fun things, right? Fun things that we can learn about each other in a human design setting. Anyway, okay, so that's it for human design. If you have any other questions, please feel free to pop those into the chat and I'll come back. So now I want to move to the moon's placement today. She's in Taurus. I love it when it's in Taurus. I seem to get more things done, maybe because I have my natal Venus in Taurus. I'm not sure. The one thing though, today, it's all about being open to new approaches to achieving your goals. So if you've been trying to do things the same way all the time, oh, there's Sadie, same way every time, and you're beating your head up against the wall, today's opportunity is change it up, right? Change it up, do something different. Get out of the rut of the way that you've been doing things, because the moon in a conjunction to Uranus later on this morning gives us that opportunity. We could become inspired to let go of the old and to open up to the new, right? However, that conjunction to Uranus brings a little bit of instability to the day, right? Our outer world may seem unstable. I mean, all you have to do is pick up go look at the news, and there's a lot of instability, a lot of stuff happening out there. Expect maybe some people to have some temper tantrums out there, and we know who that often is. Sudden surprises, maybe some sudden really good things, maybe good news for once about the COVID virus. But it's a call today to keep your senses sharp. Right? Taurus rules your senses. So all of the senses plus your spidey senses, your intuition, keeping it sharp today, really being on the lookout, not for bad things, maybe for adventure, right? Because this is a great setup for adventure. Funny how these themes pop up in different ways that we look through the filter each day. So our human design Venus at gate 35, prompting us to look at the adventure, to fill our lives with adventure and wonder. The Jupiter Sun opposition today, which we haven't talked about yet, also bringing that to us. And now we see that the moon in Taurus conjunct Uranus also showing us that this is the opportunity for adventure today, that there's this great possibility that we can, shine into some new area of our life, or some new wisdom that we've gained, or some new skill maybe that we want to learn. Maybe you all want to learn human design, right? That, and you become inspired to learn more about that. So great for adventure, but keep your senses sharp, because you want to be there and ready and willing and able when those great opportunities show up in your life as well. Now, Sun opposing Jupiter. So now we have a little bit of a quandary, right? We have these two planets pulling in opposite directions. The Sun in Cancer pulling us to be more nurturing, to be more, a little bit more secure oriented, to create more stability, more foundation. And we have Jupiter, the planet of growth, the planet of expansion in Capricorn, pulling us to perhaps have grown beyond what was sustainable in our lives. So today we may need to evaluate your plans. Maybe your plans need to be reworked, especially if you've gone too far, too fast, or been too extravagant in the way that you've been doing things. So you may need to pull back a bit to rework that plan and get, some clarity on what to do. On the other hand, is the opposition about you playing too small, right? Where you've shrunk too much, because it's this, if one side is possible, the other side is possible. So we have the possible that we've grown too far, too fast, that we've been overly extravagant, we've spent too much money, too much time, too many resources on something. But on the other hand, we may have, out of fear over what's been going on in the world, we may have sucked it in, and we've become too contracted, and we've become too small. So today's a great day to regroup. And this is, on today, it was a little bit yesterday, today, tomorrow, where we're working through. This is a time to regroup, gain some insight, redirect your energies, see where it is maybe things are going too far, too fast, etc. I had a moment like this. I'm going to just share, because it's in my chart. The Sun opposing Jupiter is across my 1st and 7th house. So I'm laying in bed last night, just about to fall asleep, and my husband goes, "Oh yeah, payroll called me today." Remember, yesterday was his first day back to work since April 3rd or April 10th, something like that. He goes, "Oh yeah, payroll called me today and said that they're going to start taking extra money out of my paychecks, because while he was on furlough, they were paying our medical, dental, vision insurances and all that, the whole thing. And they would send me a bill at the end of the month, and I would pay them what they would say our part was." Well, the first bill I got was like $300. The next one I got was $500 and $600, something like that. And the third one I got, which was for July, was going to be like 700 and some dollars. I was like, what? Why is this going up and up and up? So he called and they said, "Don't worry about it. You're going back to work on Monday. We'll just start doing payroll deductions." Well, not only are they going to do payroll deductions, but they're going to take a quarter of what they say is close to $1,000 that we still owe them for his furlough out of his paychecks, on top of the regular $600 a month that comes out for his benefits. And I was laying in bed when he said this, and I just about I couldn't fall asleep for a while, right? I was just sitting there going, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, what is this going to mean?" Well, what finally calmed me down with this seeming, extravagance of being on furlough and having gotten that extra $600 a week in his unemployment and all of that, was that I could possibly have overspent, right? Overspent. And that was what was going through my mind, until I realized, oh my gosh, you're being, you're buying into this because you put money away, right? You put money away just for this. And so then I could go to sleep. So in your life, I mean, that's just happening, right? In my own growth, Wherever that is in your own chart, though, is where you may be grappling with an issue just like that, where suddenly you're faced with, whoa, have I gone too far too fast? Overspent, overdone, over achieved, and now I have to draw it back in? Or is it the opposite for you, where you haven't done enough, out of a lack of an overabundance of caution, perhaps you came in and now you have to release and let it go a little bit. So regroup, gain some insight into what's right to do now, what comes next, and redirect your energies in that new direction. So that is our sun opposing Jupiter today. Tomorrow, the sun opposes Pluto. That's going to be a different story that we'll talk about tomorrow, because it's better to talk about those things, those transits, in the context of everything that's happening in that day. Since I haven't broken down that day yet, I have no clue what that might mean for all of us, except to know that it's likely some kind of invitation for us to look at our own psychology, right? Our own psychosis, perhaps, and to move through all of that. Okay, now let me see, go back here. Questions. How's everybody doing with all this? Joshua, I got that. Hello, Augustina. Good to see you. Debbie Tibbetts Tumiel, Taurus. Indeed. JLo says, flip that coin. Augustina says, cheers. I guess you guys are all getting this today, huh? You got no questions for me, or, how this is affecting you personally? If you do, let me know. In the next moment here, I'm going to go to our Pleiadian-Earth energy for the day, because we've reached the 10th day in the 13-day week. And that 10th day is all about manifesting. What are you manifesting? This is the point where we begin to see the results of our thinking, the results of our actions, the results of our inactions, and the results of our poor thinking, right? Or of our fears and how they've been playing out against the backdrop of the intentions of what it is that you've been trying to accomplish or what you wanted to create. So if you don't like what you see out there, then likely it's because there is some imbalance in here, mostly up here in your thinking processes. So you have to go back to, what have I been focusing my energies on? And sometimes this can be an opportunity to, again, redirect, course correct, right? That if you don't like what you see, then you move into a new direction. And for those of you who are new, who have not seen this before, I'm basing this on this 2020 Pleiadian-Earth energy calendar, brought to us by Pia Orleans and Colin Baird Smith. They are a power couple, if you will, that channels a group from the Pleiades, and they share their wisdom through the channeling. And part of that wisdom was bringing up this Pleiadian-Earth energy, both astrology and calendar. And very much like the Mayan calendar, that was also their astrology. Pleiadian is the same thing. In fact, I really truly believe that it was the Pleiadians that gifted the system to the Maya. And when you look at the calendar, first you have this beautiful picture for the month and the overriding energy of the month. And then your calendar itself has the Gregorian days up in the upper left corner. But then you see those big numbers that tell you what is the energy of the spiral of consciousness that we're in. And underneath it, you see a word that represents the earth energy of the day and what we're focusing our earth energy on. Today, we are focused on 10 breathing. 10 breathing. Breathing energy in the Mayan calendar was Ik, and Ik was the representation of breath or the wind. And it really represents the sharing of ideas, the new approaching us and flowing through us. It also can disrupt things. It can feel very destabilizing, like if you're in a windstorm, how that feels. And lately it's been a little breezy here, so I'm constantly having to run out and get my umbrella, my patio umbrella, and make sure it's anchored because the wind's twirling it all around. So that wind can feel restless, and it can feel a little unstable, like we have to sort of anchor some things. It can feel like we cannot control anything. How extraordinary. With Mars at the gate of control, today's energy in the spiral of consciousness is helping us to see that we're never in, that control isn't the way, right? That control has to be undone. So new ideas, new concepts abound on a day like today. And yet it may be our grand opportunity, if you don't like what you see in your world or in your life at the moment, to adopt a new way of being, a new way of looking at the problem, and to be able to move in a new direction. Go with the flow, the wind, go with the wind, and go with the breath, right? Even if you have to stop what you're doing and take some breaths, right? To come to that moment where you can re-engage your intention in a new direction, perhaps. And if you're noticing that everything's going well in your world and you like what you see, and I'm not talking about necessarily the outer world, because the outer world is not in your purview, but in your own personal life, if you like what things are happening and where things are going, then you can rest assured that you're using the energy appropriately, right? That your intentions and the energy you're using to get there are in alignment. And every day, of course, you have a new opportunity to realign. Every moment, you have the opportunity to realign with your correct energy. All right, so can we have an animal spirit card for the collective? Absolutely, Allison. That's why I love having you out there. You always remind me to do that. You and Debbie Johnson always remind me to pull a card for the collective. So I will do that. Debbie Tibbetts Tumiel asking for healing hearts energy to be sent to Colette Baron Reed and everyone in her spiritual family. Oh my goodness, Debbie, what's up? You might have to text me later and tell me. Camilla, remember to leave your thumbs up, guys. Yes, thumbs up the video. Thank you. You guys are so awesome to remind me to remind you all to do that. Also, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. And yeah, thank you. All of that. Now, here's an animal card that I'm going to pull. I love it when we pull the animal cards because we often get this best animal for, for the time that we're in. So remember when I said earlier that because we have the defined head in Ajna through the channel 6124, that it's about our minds and we have to get out of our heads. Look what we got. Pig spirit. Pig spirit is oops, wrong thing. I need to get to zoom and make sure she's in the center here. Pig spirit says, use your mind wisely. She is card number 47, which is an 11, of course, a number of illumination, bringing in the light. We also spent a good deal of time talking about that, bringing that light into our DNA as it can transduce light and send it back out. So let's read about pig spirit. She came up upright. So we are looking at an empowerment message, kind of. That's porcupine, not pig. Here we go. Here's the message. Pig spirit appears to remind you of the higher use of intelligence. Interesting, because remember, 62 is the gate the sun is in this week, and that's about our intellect and our right use of mind. So pig spirit appears to remind you of the right use of intelligence, a gift we all have that is meant to be used with love, compassion, and discernment. Intelligence means recognizing the value of intuition partnered with smarts and common sense, which leads to intelligent solutions. When pig spirit appears, you are called to respect your analytical mind and use it for the highest good, recognizing that all facts must be considered even when they do not fit with what you know already. Spirit blesses us with wisdom when we allow pig spirit to nudge us into open-minded, thoughtful dialogues, whether with others or internally, as we mull over our ideas and what we have come to understand. You are intelligent and capable of clear-minded thinking, shaped by the wisdom you have accumulated and the intuition that will tell you when you have more learning to do, because not all the facts are in. Now is a time that your decision-making powers are reliable, for you are in alignment with pig spirit's keen intelligence. Love it. But don't over-rely on your mind, right? There was a big influence here of intuition. So love it. Thank you, Allison, for having us pull that card. And last thoughts going on here. Is there anything going on, JLo says, that has out of space feeling, sort of like to fitting in, just a weird feeling where I'm at, sort of like you're out of lockstep, maybe with something, or it might be, remember Monday? Yesterday was Monday, so it was Sunday. We had the sun in a trine to Neptune, and that may be just now coming into view for you, and it kind of makes things feel a little bit, it does one of two things. One, it can highlight places where you have not enough clarity about something, where there's still some, fogginess for you. But on the other hand, it can also, if you're using your intuition, really highlight the solution to things that you're working on. So maybe that's part of what's happening for you, J-Lo. Kimberly, something about the pig makes me really happy. I know, me too. Um, Debbie, yesterday, her BFF and the person that was like her brother to her, and the person that has been with her from the start in all her endeavors past. Ooh, Doug Upchurch. We met him, didn't we, Debbie, when we were on our cruise? I think we met him. Everyone in our family is devastated. Oh my goodness. I'm pretty sure I know exactly who you're talking about, because I believe he was on that cruise with us that we went last year. Oh, hearts out to Colette Baron Reed and her family. As well, all people out there, healing energy galore. There are a lot of people suddenly coming into my awareness that are suffering with the virus, out of the blue. And, seemingly we thought we were besting this beastie, and now we find we're not. So a lot of people out there that need our love and our healing energy, and you have the power to do that, right? For yourself and for others. Just send out that love, that light, that healing energy. So that's it for me today. Thank you all for joining me. It was great to see you new people out there. For those of you who are new, the best thing for you to do right now would be to go to my website, www.living-astrology.com, request your free human design chart and report, and maybe even your free astrology chart, because that helps you to know what we're talking about and to bring it into your own awareness for you. All right, guys, that's it for me today. I hope you all have a wonderful day. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Bye for now.